Rare images of the Old West. Negotiation without a store. As towns in the Old West began to emerge and land was settled, trade developed in quite improvised ways. In the beginning, there was no proper infrastructure to support formal trade, and entrepreneurs had to be inventive. One notable example is the blacksmith of the region, who worked without a conventional workshop. A rare image shows Olive Ann Oatman. When she was 14, she and her sister were captured by a Native American tribe in Arizona and sold to another tribe called the Mojave. Her sister died of starvation after a few years with the Mojave tribe. 5 years later, Olive managed to escape. The tattoos on her face were placed by the Mojave to ensure she would have a good death. The image depicts a scene at the Land Registry Office in 1889. At that time, many pioneers of the Old West faced long, crowded lines when trying to register their land lots. Annie Oakley was one of the most famous shooters of the Old West, gaining notoriety for her exceptional skills with firearms. She gained fame at 15 due to her precision and skill in shooting. Since she was 8, Oakley had been hunting and shooting to support her family after her father's death, showing her talent and determination from a young age. The California Gold Rush began in 1848, bringing a significant demographic change to the region. Initially, there were few women in California, but the gold rush attracted many to the area. The women in the photo participated in the rush, with many bringing their husbands to seek gold. If they couldn't come with their families, they either had to mine gold alone or engage in activities like cooking, housekeeping, washing clothes, and dancing. Image of Rose Dunn, known as Cimarron. Born in 1878, she became famous for her association with George Bitter Creek Newcomb, a notorious outlaw wanted dead or alive. Despite her youth, Cimarron became an iconic figure, tied to the adventurous and dangerous life of the Old West. Arrival of the railroad. Before this, transportation was slow and difficult, with stages and horses dominating movement. The railroad brought speed and efficiency, easing the transport of people and goods and boosting the economic development of the region. The construction of railroads involved great effort and transformed small communities into dynamic urban centers. It also helped integrate the Old West with the rest of the United States, promoting economic growth and cultural diversification. This image of Billy Brooks illustrates a typical gunfighter from the 1870s. Brooks had a varied life, serving as a lawman in Newton and Ellsworth, Kansas, and a gunfighter in Dodge City. His life ended tragically in 1874 when he was hanged for horse theft. Buffalo hunting. The hunters stood out for their large-caliber Sharps rifles instead of the pistols used by cowboys, and they wore deer hides rather than typical cowboy attire. This photo, taken in a Denver studio in 1868, shows a hunter posing with his Sharps rifle, possibly before heading out to the plains. The Texas Rangers are perhaps the most famous lawmen of the West. After the Civil War, their primary adversaries were the Comanches, not bandits. Photographs of the Rangers before 1860 are rare. Old West scouts, like Buffalo Bill Cody and Yellowstone Kelly, were notable figures of the time. Buffalo Bill debuted on stage with Scouts of the Prairie in 1872. John Powell's Saloon. This photo, dated from the 1910s, shows several men and a dog named Peggy at John Powell's Saloon, located in Plainfield, Illinois. Equity Bar. This 1907 image shows cowboys enjoying drinks at the Equity Bar in Old Tascosa, Texas. The image captures a typical social moment of the cowboys at the time. Jackson's Bar. At the end of the 19th century, a customer is seen holding a rifle outside Jackson's Bar in Idaho. The image illustrates the common practice of carrying weapons at the time and reflects the rustic environment and personal security that characterized life in the West. Ned Christie, a Cherokee outlaw, was more known for bootlegging whiskey and stealing horses than for bank and train robberies. Ned Christie was killed in 1887 during an ambush by authorities after being unjustly accused of killing a federal deputy. John Wesley Hardin, one of the deadliest gunslingers in history. He claimed to have killed 42 men, reality, at least 20. He was so violent that even other outlaws were afraid of him. Legendary fact. He famously said, "I never killed anyone who didn't deserve it." He died from a gunshot to the head inside a saloon. Lone cowboy with lasso and revolver, 1880s. A vaquero poses mounted, ready for the day. Many lived alone on the prairies and died before the age of 30, defending their cattle from rustlers. Stagecoach crossing the river. A wagon full of passengers and guns crosses the Rio Grande. A dangerous crossing, swollen rivers, strong currents, and the constant risk of attack. Pioneer family with covered wagon. Father, mother, and children beside the wagon that was their only home. They left everything behind in the East to search for free land in the Wild West. Billy the Kid, young baby-faced gunslinger who became a legend in the Lincoln County War. He escaped from prison by killing his guards and was hunted down by Sheriff Pat Garrett. He died at 21 years old from a shot in the dark. Legend says he killed 21 men before turning 21. In reality, it was about 8 or 9. Only one confirmed photo of him exists. Group of gunslingers and lawmen. Armed men posed seriously in a studio. Many were sheriffs or outlaws. The line between the two was very thin in the Old West. Man and horse in the dry desert. A cowboy rests with his horse in the middle of nowhere. Thirst and heat killed more people than bullets in those days. Wooden camp and wagon. A group living in a makeshift wooden cabin in the middle of the forest. This was how pioneers started a new town from scratch. 7. Cowboys driving a giant herd. Vaqueros watch over thousands of head of cattle. The real cowboy work. Dust, sun, and long days in the saddle. Butch Cassidy, leader of the Wild Bunch, the most feared gang in the final years of the Old West. He robbed trains with style and rode away laughing. He fled to Bolivia with the Sundance Kid. His official death was in 1908 in Bolivia, but many people swear he returned to the US and died an old man. 8. Armed woman and cowboy on horseback. A woman with a pistol and hat beside a cowboy. Women like her, female outlaws or saloon owners, were just as tough as the men. 9. Indigenous warriors with teepees, 1890s. Native warriors pose with horses and teepees. The last years of freedom before the reservations. The end of an era in the Old West. Black Bart, the poet bandit of California. He robbed Wells Fargo stagecoaches for 8 years, always masked and leaving ironic poems at the scene. He never killed anyone. One of his famous poems read, "I've labored long and hard for bread, for honor, and for riches. But you've trampled on my toes, you sons of bitches dressed in fine clothes." Armed Calamity Jane, late 1800s. Martha Jane Canary, Calamity Jane, poses with a rifle and a hard stare. She fought in the Civil War, rode with the men, drank, shot, and told such tall tales that no one could tell what was true. Wild Bill Hickok. The legendary gunslinger poses with his weapons. Known for impossible duels and for being the fastest man in the West, he died holding the famous dead man's hand, 2 aces and 2 eights, in a poker game. Doc Holliday. The tubercular dentist, gambler, and deadly gunslinger. Best friend of Wyatt Earp. He survived the OK Corral shootout and died coughing up blood at age 36. Blackjack Ketchum at the hanging, 1901. The outlaw being prepared for the gallows. When they pulled the lever, the rope decapitated him right in front of the crowd. The most grotesque botched execution in Old West history. Dodge City Peace Commissioners. Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, and the most famous lawman posed together. This photo was taken to seal a peace after nearly sparking an all-out war in Dodge City. Body, California. Abandoned Main Street. A gold boomtown that became known as the wickedest town in the West because of daily gunfights. It once had 10,000 residents and today is the best preserved ghost town in the USA. Buffalo Soldiers, 25th Infantry, 1890. Group of black US Army soldiers posing at Fort Keogh. Native Americans called them Buffalo Soldiers because of their bravery and their hair that resembled buffalo fur. Lone black cowboy. Black vaquero, mounted with a lasso. More than one in every 4 cowboys in Texas were black. They were masters at cattle work, but they almost never appear in Western movies. Miner panning in the river. A man alone panning for gold in California. The California Gold Rush attracted 300,000 people. Most died poor or went home empty-handed. Chinese railroad workers, 1860s. Group of Chinese immigrants laying tracks through the mountains. They blasted rocks with dynamite and built the most dangerous sections of the Transcontinental Railroad. Group of Apache indigenous prisoners resting beside the Southern Pacific Railroad near the Nueces River, Texas, 1886. Apache prisoners, men, women, and children, rest in chains beside the Southern Pacific tracks. The photo was taken in 1886, right after Geronimo's final surrender. They were being transported by train to Florida, to a swamp far from the desert where they lived. The government decided to deport the entire group to put an end to Apache resistance once and for all. Men playing faro in a bar. Bisbee, Arizona. Miners and gamblers bet heavily at a faro table inside a saloon in Bisbee. Faro was the most popular game in the West because it was fast and gave players almost even odds. In Bisbee, a copper mining town, a miner could win or lose an entire month's wages in just a few rounds. A new settler, at the site of a new town, looking for land. Guthrie, Oklahoma. He is looking for an empty lot to stake his claim. On that day, more than 10,000 people rushed into the territory in just a few hours during the land run. Land lots in a new territory are auctioned in this tent. California. Auction of lots inside a tent in California. The auctioneer was selling land for a town that didn't even exist yet. Many buyers paid without ever seeing the property, betting that the place would grow. First house on the site, where Dodge City, Kansas stands today. Built sometime in August 1872. The first wooden house built on the site of Dodge City in August 1872. At the time, there was no town, just a buffalo hunter's camp. This cabin was the first permanent building before the famous saloons, hotels, and gunfights. Men laying tracks for a new railroad, connecting the wild frontier to the world. Arizona, 1898. Workers lay the final tracks of a new railroad line in Arizona in 1898. The railroad connected isolated regions to the rest of the country, bringing mail, banks, law, and the end of the free-roaming cowboy era.